I swear, in this video, I go must do am. You'll be surprised that this is this 8th time I'm trying to just say this out to you guys. Every time something happens, but now I go must do am. I go must talk to you. Alright, so that being said, I want to welcome you to the Science of Corruption. My name is Sheena David, and in this class, we don't just complain about problems. We also know and understand that it is important that we question the root causes of these challenges if we want to stand a better chance at resolving these issues. Now, I pray that God gives you the understanding to keep up, because in my channel, we are discussing corruption on a quantum level. So that being said, I want to draw your attention to this. You know that sometimes parents, they own businesses. When they hand over these businesses to their kids, these kids oftentimes run these businesses to the ground. It is simple. The reason is that these kids, they don't have any idea or enough knowledge or understanding about what it takes to manage these businesses. This is why they run it to the ground. Now, sometimes these parents, they hand over businesses to kids, and these kids, they do exceedingly well. In fact, they do better than these parents. Sometimes it is simple. The ones that do good are the ones that understand the business. They know what the parents knew or know in terms of managing these businesses. Okay? So, that being said, I want to ask you, Africans, that is it the kids that run the business to the ground because of ignorance you want to be, or you want to be the kids that prosper the business regardless of challenges that may constitute roadblocks for the business? Because I'm beginning to understand that you being unable to strengthen democratic institutions or resolve the problem with corruption is as a result of your ignorance. I want you to understand that it is important that we also know the essence and the reason and the need, and understand the things that the founding fathers of democracy considered, how they analyzed issues before they drafted this system of government called democracy. And this was done specifically by Legakos, an ancient Greek philosopher, Athenian to be precise. He developed a constitution that preserves the liberty of the citizens for the longest time recorded. And this constitution contains the basic features of democracy. And what made him to do this was the fact that during that time, several countries were battling with what system of government to adopt. The ones that were observing a monarchical system, in due course, would turn into tyranny and despotism. Aristocracy was also turning into oligarchy. Now, at every instance, the people grew dissatisfied, suffered enough, and they decided that it don't do us. Let's change the system of government. Let's overthrow these people. And each time, when kingship or monarchy was overthrown, aristocrats, they took over. And when they began to abuse power, they were overthrown, and it became a system where the people decided, let's rule ourselves, a democracy. But even democracy resulted into forced rule of violence. Now, Legakos considered all these things, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'll get some features of democracy and put them on one corner. I get features of monarchy, put them on the other side. I'll get that of aristocracy and combine these three. So he picks only the good principles in all the systems of government and made up a constitution that lasted and kept the liberty of his people for the longest time, like I said. Now, the principles that he got from monarchy was that let there be an executive. Okay? Now, the executive was there. Now, from the aristocracy, he now said, let there be a House of Commons, what we have as a legislature right now. And from the elders, he now said, let there be a group of people known as the elders, selected from the people, who will make sure that justice was served, which we now have a judicial system. But to sum it all up, this is Legakos understanding that power, if it is concentrated, it is prone to abuse. Just like Aristotle said, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So now, he was trying to avoid the situation where someone doesn't have too much power, so that when the executive wants to abuse power, the commons will check their excesses. And similarly, when the commons want to abuse power, the judiciary will check their excesses. Now you see the origin of separation of powers. Now you know that the reason why they are separating power is such that it is not concentrated in one place so that the person who is in charge of it begins to abuse it for personal gains. These were the teachings of history that Legacos and Plebeians understood when they drafted these principles or system of government or this type of constitution. Now, first of all, you should understand by now that separation of power is such that power will not be abused. And secondly, and most fundamentally, is such that these three arms of government will be checking themselves. You get? So, if you now begin to see a democracy that doesn't have an effective system of check and balance, you should understand that it must be as a result of the fact that maybe as they separate power, they don't separate them properly. Like I was telling you in the other video, like that the separation of powers in Nigerian democracy is done disproportionately at the disadvantage of the judiciary. They stand as the weaker arm of government in this regard. You understand? So the fact is that Pilebos and Ligocos, they were looking at an equilibrium of power, where these powers were balanced such that no arm will begin to outbalance the other one and manipulate powers. But now, if you find yourself in a Nigerian situation where Tinubu does what he wants and no one says a word, the legislature, they don't tell him anything, and the judiciary also don't say a word, you should understand that problem don't deal with the system of check and balance. So, and which ingredients did we mix to get a system of check and balance? You now go back to the separation of powers. You go and restructure that one, add judicial powers so that you balance up, so that they begin to get mouth. And like I was saying, even the legislature, they are not adequately independent, which is one of the things that are contributing to a deficient system of check and balance. I'll see you guys in the next video, but pay attention to me. I know what I'm saying. Una sabi other things, but this one mean to asabi. You understand? It will even shock you that this theory or cycle of political revolution that I'm explaining to you now, I already wrote about it. I knew about it. I analyzed and understood it before I even saw that, oh, people with sabi, with great minds, philosophers don't already address this issue. All right? Now, I'll move to the next video. I don't tire to the arrange to the shoot video. I'll tell you what it is. If you don't understand, we'll go still the suffer from corruption. Thank you.